This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benneroff, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening? Who are the newsmakers? What's in store for the future? The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, Westchester, and the world, John Bailey. And this is a City News Roundup show with the anchor for all seasons to my right, Peter Katz, and Jim Benneroff is on assignment this evening. And here's what happened this week, March 24th in White Plains, New York, USA. Congresswoman Nita Lowey holds a town hall meeting on possible effects of Obamacare repeal and replace law. El Centro Hispano holds information forum for immigrants in White Plains. Police say they will not ask immigration status of persons, and Mayor Roach says city, quote, will not contact ICE, will not enforce immigration laws of our federal government, unquote. School district presents $215 million school budget, up $7 million. It spends a windfall of $5 million from the tax roll increase on building improvements. The levy is up 3.5%, your tax rate up 1.75%. We will have the exclusive weekly Peter Katz Roundup, watched all over the world, Trump the President. Governor Andrew Cuomo details costs to hospitals, nursing homes, if $2.5 billion in Medicaid funds are denied the state by Republican Obamacare repeal and replace legislation. New York State Supreme Court denies City of Rye suit demanding the last word on how Playland grows after Standard Amusement takes over, if it does take over. Sustainable Westchester plans to announce new electric rates early in 2018. They're getting in gear to review it. The city readies its 2017-2018 budget for April the 1st. French-American School alternate site plan for Parcel A on the Old Ridgeway Country Club prepares for its hearing April 5th in the White Plains Performing Arts Center. Chuck Berry, the Pied Piper of rock and roll, died at 90. Jamie Breslin, the Daily News reporter and colorful crusading columnist, died at 88. Chuck Barris, the man with the dangerous mind, creator of the dating game, the newlywed game, and the Gong Show, and pioneer of today's reality show TV, died. And right now, we'll go to the White Plains Week, Rollo Newsreel March of Time, where a healthcare forum was held by Nita Lowey, shown here, and Peter Katz, you have the story.
Yes, John, the deal-maker-in-chief Donald Trump was unable to negotiate enough votes from Republican members of Congress for Republican Speaker Paul Ryan to go ahead with the vote that he had scheduled for Thursday evening, yesterday, on Trumpcare, the GOP's version of Obamacare. We're recording this program Friday morning. Debate on the bill is scheduled for today in the House of Representatives. There may be a vote later on. Just as around the country, right here in White Plains, Trumpcare has a lot of people worried. Democratic Congresswoman Nita Lowey held a town hall meeting on the Republican effort to replace Obamacare at White Plains High School on the afternoon of March 18th. She held one in Rockland earlier in the day. Panelists answered questions and gave presentations. They agreed with the Congressional Budget Office analysis that up to $24 million would lose health care insurance under the plan being pushed by House Speaker Paul Ryan and President Trump. Lisa Sobrana is director of the Office of Marketplace Counsel for the New York State Department of Health.
So when we started in 2013, there was a more than 10% rate of uninsurance in New York State. That's down to 5%. So we've cut that by 50% in just the 3 years of full operation. Enrollment increased by 28% this year alone. On the last day of open enrollment, which was January 31st of 2017, almost 46,000 people enrolled in health insurance. That's incredible. 46,000 of you and your friends enrolling in one day, which just shows how meaningful this is. So these are big numbers. We now have more than 3.6 million people enrolled through the marketplace. We've made incredible strides here in New York, and we want to make sure that we continue to have access, which is very different. Meaningful access is what we're talking about here. There's access and there's meaningful access. What we're striving for under the Affordable Care Act is meaningful access. What this new bill does is not meaningful. While it brings prices down, the way it does that is by offering lower price plans that also have very low accessibility on the front end.
I asked Lowey what she's been hearing from business people in her district.
I've had round tables with the business community for many years, and even before the Affordable Care Act, every business would tell me their insurance was going up 20%, 25% every year. So most businesses understand that the insurance industry was not serving them effectively, and their premiums continue to rise. I can't imagine the nightmare that would occur if this monster of a bill passes. But I think Republicans who are sane, who really understand the damages of this Trumpcare bill, would work to immediately make changes. It's impossible to make this work.
Larry Levin, president and CEO of Blythedale Children's Hospital, was one of the panelists.
It's very difficult to tell what those changes are going to be on the providers, but we do know from the bill that's being discussed now in Congress is that it's going to devastate children and families because Medicaid funding nationally is going to be cut $888 billion, and that will affect all of the kids in New York State that are on Medicaid. And so we're very, very concerned for our families and how that will play out in the healthcare arena.
Beth Finkel, New York director of the Association of Retired Persons, AARP, also was on the panel.
We've got 2.6 million members here in New York State, and of course 38 million across the country, and we are very opposed to this health care bill. We see it as a special interest bill, and we're not happy with it at all. In New York, the Medicaid will change so drastically. $3.7 billion will come out of our Medicaid budget, which will affect the health care of every New Yorker, because it's not just about the people who are on Medicaid, it's about everyone that you interact with, that your children go to school with, and if people are not getting the proper health care, then they're going to be sharing diseases and everything else. So we really cannot allow that to happen.
Another participant was Jeffrey Gold, Senior Vice President of the Healthcare Association of New York State, which represents more than 550 not-for-profit healthcare systems, hospitals, nursing homes, and home care agencies.
If it goes down the path that the Republicans are trying to go down, the likelihood is that people will then choose and gamble that they're going to guess right on some lesser form of coverage, and that may or may not have repercussions. Very likely, if that happens, our expectation is that people will delay care where they have to reach deeper into their pocket, that hospitals will be presented with harder cases to be certain of the coverage, and that bad debt and the pressure around all of deductibles will go up.
Now, the bill has been changed by the Republican leadership to remove the requirement that health insurance policies cover about a dozen basics, such as hospitalization, drugs, and childbirth, which is exactly what insurance companies dream about, being able to sell insurance that won't have to pay for anything. And as of the time we're recording this program on Friday morning, it appears that there still are not enough votes to pass the bill. But a vote had been anticipated for Friday afternoon or evening. A report does say some Republican congressmen think the vote may have to be postponed again. John?
Well, they should postpone it permanently. This is what they should do. Get some sense. Now, let's go to the shocker of the week. It happened at the school budget hearing on Monday night over at Education House. At that hearing, Dr. Howard Smith, acting superintendent of White Plains Schools, presented his preliminary budget. And as it stands, the budget is $215,972,000, an increase of $7,222,000 over the current budget of $208.75 million.
Doesn't look as if there were many people at the hearing to hear what was being said.
There are 20, and many of them were from the district. And the intriguing thing about this is that the tax rate increase is 1.75%, from $613 to $624, $1,000 of assessed valuation. The actual levy goes up 3.46 because of the increased tax revenue from two payments in lieu of taxes. And those properties are Bank Street Commons and 1133 Westchester Avenue, which shows you how much pilots cost you if they go out a little too long.
Well, pilot is a payment in lieu of
Yeah,
taxes
that's right.
when you start a development as a tax break. Sometimes they allow you to negotiate something rather than have the property fully assessed on the tax rolls.
Right.
But the interesting thing, John, is that they have this windfall money coming in, over $4 million, between $4 and $5 million coming in. They're not taking it, you know, what are they doing with this? They're going to spend it.
They're going to spend it on improving the high school, completing the roof job, putting in a new intercom system and security system, and then they're going to do a roof over at Church Street School, and it's basically routine maintenance.
Yeah, but you have to stop water leaks. So suppose they didn't have this windfall money coming in. Does that mean that they would allow the roof to leak? Of course not.
Right.
It should be in the budget. This stuff should normally be in the budget.
Well,
you shouldn't have to depend upon a windfall to fix a roof.
Well, that is the problem with the windfall is if you don't spend it, if you say give it back and cut the taxes, God forbid, then you are stuck with a lower budget next year.
Yeah.
And no one wants a lower budget every year. They want it higher and higher and higher and higher.
Anyway, so can we look forward to another pitifully poor turnout when it comes time to vote on this?
It looks like it. The school property tax on an individual homeowner would pay on a $650,000 assessed house in White Plains would be approximately $10,180, up from $10,111 in 2016-17. The total levy, however, goes up to $176.9 million, thanks to the two large pilots returning to the assessment roll.
Well, John, you know, look, if you're paying $13,000 a year in taxes, and the increase is a little bit under 2%, it's not a $70 increase that you're going to see. It's about a $200 increase you're going to see.
No, but that's the way it works out when you run it against the particular assessment for that house.
For that house,
For that house, but it could fluctuate.
Yeah, but you can't do it. You can't do it that way because
I'm just giving an example.
You go find, you know, houses like that in the city. I mean, people pay a lot of money, and you look at raising 2% on or 1.75%. You know, on a bottom line of $13,000 or $15,000, or some people paying $20,000.
But that's the school tax.
It's a lot of money on school
Plus,
taxes.
you've got the county tax and you've got the city tax, which should be interesting coming up because of this new assessment.
Which is going to go up about the same.
Maybe so.
Anyway,
And
what else happened?
What else happened? We move on to the Playland suit has been thrown out. Remember?
Now, this was the city of Rye,
Right.
which sued to try to block the deal, saying that they were essentially cut out from the process, and they want to be put back in the process. They wanted to have a say, you know, on what was going to happen at this this amusement park right next to their community.
According to the county press release on this, Justice Gretchen Walsh rejected all the claims by the city of Rye that halted progress since last August. The county executive Astorino, in a written statement, said, "The definitive nature of the judge's decision shows the county's agreement with Standard Amusements is in full compliance with the law and protects the interests of all county residents. The legal challenge has been brought. The court has rejected it, and now it is time to refocus on the important work ahead." Nicholas Singer, the partner of Standard Amusements, said that he looks forward to continuing, so we expect him to pay us some money
Well,
soon.
the deal may go through,
Yes, it
actually,
may.
and so they may start working their way in to operate the amusement park.
Yes, unless the legislators come up with another problem.
Yeah, well, you know, there may be a problem coming up in
An
White
election.
Plains.
Yes,
Well, no,
right.
I mean, there may be trouble ahead here for things
Yes.
like Meals on Wheels,
Yes.
and needy senior citizens, and youth programs, and low-cost loans that help stop housing from deteriorating.
Yes.
Because one of the things proposed in the Trump federal budget for fiscal 2018 is elimination of community development block grants. That's where federal money goes to municipalities which qualify to be used to help pay for projects that help the poor, disabled, and others in need. The city of White Plains is designated as an entitlement community by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and as such has been receiving about $1 million a year through the Community Development Block Grant Program. But Trump wants to do away with that. The primary objective of the CDBG program is the development of viable urban communities by providing decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expanding economic opportunities, especially for those people of low and moderate income. The city of White Plains has a community development program which is responsible for administering CDBG funds, and we asked Mayor Tom Roach for his reaction to President Trump's plan to stop helping these low and moderate income people.
We have multiple nonprofit organizations in the city that serve people who are greatest in need, and they would lose funding. That money is distributed by a board that is appointed and makes decisions about how the money we receive each year will be distributed. Also, some of the money helps us in enforcement and in housing, to maintain safe housing and things like that. So it would have a tremendous impact.
And right now, Peter, it's time to go into the ongoing harsh reality show. And that is your report on Trump the President.
Indeed, and the Wall Street Journal, owned by right-winger Rupert Murdoch, who also happens to own Fox News, caused jaws to drop when on Tuesday it published an editorial pulling the rug out from under its favorite son, Donald Trump. The Wall Street Journal said Trump's repeated lack of respect for the truth puts him in jeopardy of being viewed as a fake president. To quote the Wall Street Journal editorial board, 2 months into his presidency, Gallup has Mr. Trump's approval rating at 39%. No doubt Mr. Trump considers that fake news. But if he doesn't show more respect for the truth, most Americans may conclude he's a fake president. So says the Wall Street Journal.
Wow.
My jaw dropped.
I would say.
FBI Director James Comey says the FBI has been investigating the Trump administration since it was the Trump campaign. He testified before the House Intelligence Committee. It appeared that national security and a criminal investigation are at stake here. Comey also testified that neither the FBI nor the Justice Department has anything to substantiate President Trump's claim that former President Obama ordered him wiretapped. Comey also made it plain that no president has the power to order a wiretap. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee is Devin Nunes, a Republican who also was involved with the Trump presidential campaign. Nunes on Wednesday held a news conference on Capitol Hill, and get this, John, he leaked classified information, which he said had shown that intelligence reports contained information about President Trump and Trump's associates And this intelligence information was collected while American agents were conducting surveillance of others, apparently people like the Russian ambassador to the U.S. Nunes, I remind you, is charged with running a congressional investigation into the Russian interference with the U.S. presidential election and whether Trump and his people worked with the Russians on their scheme. Now, Nunes went to the White House, where he revealed to the president, a key subject of this House investigation, what he found out. And he held another news conference at the White House. Nunes and Trump contended that the information that Nunes leaked supports Trump's false allegation that President Obama ordered his phones at Trump Tower tapped. Of course, that all is nonsense. Nunes had not even told others on his committee about what he claimed to have learned, especially cutting out the Democratic committee leader, Congressman Adam Schiff. Schiff said what Nunes did proves that he cannot be trusted to run this investigation, since he has shown himself to be a surrogate of Donald Trump. Schiff and others, especially Senator John McCain, now say it's time for an independent, impartial, non-political, select committee to take over the investigation into Trump and his people. On Thursday, Nunes apologized to the committee in a closed-door session.
Gee, I'm sorry we leaked that secret. I'll do better next time.
But leaks say he wouldn't say what he was apologizing for. The Associated Press has published a report based on documents its reporters have seen, which show that former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort was paid at least $30 million at a rate of $10 million a year by a close associate of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. Manafort was hired to run a campaign to spread Russian influence and promote Putin's policies and objectives in this country, including creating favorable news coverage for Russia here in the U.S. We all know that Donald Trump spoke highly of Putin throughout the campaign and even had language in the Republican platform changed to put in things Putin would like. We also know that Trump was highly critical of NATO, which Putin would like to see go away. It's important to note, however, that the AP report did not say that Trump himself also was on the Russian payroll, either in cash or through favorable business dealings. Important because some think that's the case because of the things Trump said during the campaign through the transition and now is saying in the Oval Office. There were Senate hearings this week on the nomination of Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Gorsuch refused to answer most questions about how he would vote on controversial cases, but gave enough hints that his past record as a conservative judge who supported corporations over employees was unlikely to change. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he will vote no on Gorsuch and said he will stage a filibuster to try to stop the nomination completely. Yes. At a rally Wednesday outside the Capitol, Senator Bernie Sanders called for the defeat of Senate confirmation of the Wall Street lawyer who Donald Trump has named to regulate Wall Street. Former Goldman Sachs executive Jay Clayton is the guy.
Just the guy you need.
And Bernie Sanders said Mr. Clayton clearly is not the person to be running the Securities and Exchange Commission. Had enough?
It goes on, and it's selected. These choice tidbits are selected and made clear for you every week, just as Fox News does every day. Right?
Oh, of course they do.
Absolutely,
yes.
they do. Right. Now, a note on your electric bill. Remember we interviewed the head of Sustainable Westchester last year, and he was talking about our program. That was Mike Gordon in the middle, Jim Benneroff, Peter Katz, and I interviewed. Well, things are shaping up for a review of what the electric rates may be, and we can expect new electric rates to be presented to us in early next year so that you can decide whether to keep going with it for a year or two.
Now this was the city of White Plains in bulk committing White Plains residents,
20,
about 75%, I think, agreed to this, to become customers of Sustainable Westchester, which was buying electricity through Con Ed Solutions. and they had fixed a rate which at the time was slightly lower than the market rate Con Ed was charging directly. However, over time, the Con Ed rate has gone down. It fluctuates from month
and
to
now
month.
we're into,
So
we have a new
for
one.
instance,
We have a new supplier
I
now.
opted out of that that program, and the rate that I paid Con Edison on my last bill was about 3/4 of a cent less than the rate others who went with Sustainable Westchester have been paying.
Well, I mean, green power is sold, but what you're actually getting is plain old electric power.
Yeah. Now, as we speak, a
It's not
division
differentiated.
a division which works with Sustainable Westchester has started something called Sustainable Greenburgh. They've been pushing over there to get people to sign up for solar-generated electricity at a slightly higher cost.
Right.
And they held a meeting in Greenburgh just a few days ago to try to get that going.
The Sustainable Westchester or Westchester Power said that they would have plans for the various suppliers who will install solar panels to these various cities that find land by next fall to present the deals to them. So that is moving along.
You know, or if you're an individual homeowner or a business owner, you can contract separately with these favored contractors to put solar panels on your property and generate it.
You should be hearing
for
about
you.
those. Now, some sad notes this week. Jimmy Breslin, the classic reporter, columnist, died.
Actually, there was a period where I worked with him at ABC. He was working for Channel 7 for some time, doing commentaries, covering stories on occasion, doing other things. A character and a half, but well respected, and just a reporter who can get to the bottom of a story like no one else could.
His son in his obituary said he used to get so angry that he'd hit his typewriter keys so hard he'd break the typewriter when he was writing. If you're not enthusiastic when you're writing, you're not writing.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Chuck Barris died this week, and Chuck Barris is the father of reality TV. He created the dating game, the newlywed game, and of course, the Gong Show.
And a lot of games.
A lot of games, and now we have reality shows all the time. Now, Chuck Berry, my favorite rock and roll singer of all time, died this week. He was 90 years old, and those are just a few of the hits that he came up with.
And why don't we go out with a little Chuck Berry?
Right.
Let's
Here we
say
go.
good night.
They're really rocking and rolling in Pittsburgh, PA, deep in the heart of Texas, and on the Frisco Bay, all over St. Louis, and down in New Orleans, all the cats wanna dance with sweet little Texas, she just got to have about $500,000.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.